It's a new day. Hang on a minute. I went ahead and turned the camera on because it's really better if you just really know everything. And some mornings when things are so emotionally out of kilter, I just get up and the day starts off with my stomach telling me it's not happy, and I dry heave for a while. And sometimes I throw up. Nothing but bile or whatever. So I'm trying to get that under control. I was going to get online a little while ago and just been struggling this morning. I didn't mean to leave everybody hanging last night, but we went to eat. Jay took Levi and Paul out to eat while I was just, regrouping in my insane way with my genie costume at the nursing home, which everybody there seemed to really enjoy that, so it all worked out for the best. And I went and met up with them, and I was able to eat last night. And then we came back and got Paul's homework done and did normal family things and went to bed. I laid down with Paul to tuck him in and read to him and just fell asleep. And then Jay and Levi went to bed. And at 2 o'clock this morning, there was a knock on the door. Woke us all up, and it was the police. And I guess while we went to dinner, or they left to go to dinner, and I met up with them, Brian left because Jay had asked him to leave. Because after I picked Paul up and dropped him off and let Jay know what had been going on and why I needed to do that, he was pretty well done. And I think physically I'm pretty well done. The not being able to sleep and trying to hold space and ride the waves by yourself. I know that my community of elders does this with support. That means they have people there that are strong with them, but they have lots of people too. It's not just 1 or 2 or 3. Though they probably would have support even if it was 1 or 2 or 3, because this is exhausting. So he left when Jay asked him to, because once Jay came home with Paul, he needed to go to the bathroom, so he locked the door, came in and told Paul, don't answer the door for Uncle Brian. And Brian started knocking as soon as he knew they were here. And I guess wanted to go to the bathroom again. I don't know what he wanted, but he scared Paul. Because he is scary. The energy that alcohol itself puts in the equation is scary. We see it every day. We see kids die. We see domestic violence happen. And 99.9% of the time it's alcohol related. And so that was the straw that broke the camel's back for Jay, that he went out and asked Brian to leave. Because his son was scared. And I get it. And first thing I said was, I completely understand. I don't want Paul scared. I don't want him growing up like I did. And like Brian did. So I basically stayed away, trying to accept the fact that I had to let go and let God have my brother. But as much as I love him, and I want to have a relationship with him, and want to support him and help him, he has to want it. You can't make a horse drink once you get it to water. It has to be thirsty. So I didn't know he left, and I went to sleep. I just thought he had passed out in the camper after everything yesterday. I could have passed out, but I had to go get Paul and, function. like I do today. And the cop knocks on the door at 2:20, 2:18 actually. And Levi answered the door, and then I went in there, and he said, I have your brother who was drunk, and he said he's been living here, and he just moved down here into a camper on your property, and I wanted to know if he could go to the camper, because he was wandering around somebody's yard, and he crawled under their pine tree, and he was sobbing like a child. And so I said, well, if you can get him to the camper, he can go to the camper. And he said, well, if he can walk there, can he go to the camper? I said, I don't care how he gets there. If he can get there, just tell him to go to the camper and go to bed and sober up. So he got out of the car and was still farting around. And I heard his whole side of the story because I've been up since 2:20. Sitting out there in the camper with him, discussing the day and showing him the movie that we created yesterday. He didn't know I had a taser last night when I was telling him that I chased him around my house with a taser because of his inappropriate behavior. And he didn't believe me. And I said, well, I can prove it because I have it on video. I had it on live Facebook. So I went and got my computer, and he got a little bit of the enlightenment that I've been getting since I started videoing. Because it's interesting to me how we can look at everybody else when we're living our lives and point the finger at them and not take responsibility for ourselves in a situation. But when you video a situation and then you show it to the people that are involved, they don't see anybody but themselves. That's all I've seen all this time. And, sometimes I'm funny and sometimes I'm pretty crazy, putting on a genie costume that a lot of people would go out in public in without tights and, a camo thing under it with all their skin showing. I would never do such a thing. Never have done it. I've had that thing for 12 or 13 years. Somebody bought it for me and I never put it on. But when I saw it hanging on the bed yesterday after everything I've been through with my cowboy hat and my heart-shaped sunglasses, running around with my taser on a belt, talking to cops, and it was hanging there as out of the box for the first time ever. I might have pulled it out and looked at it occasionally because it was pretty. Never thought about putting the thing on. Didn't know why the person bought it for me. Of course, they would like to have seen me in it, but they never did. They didn't hang around long enough either. None of them have. But anyway, it was hanging there, and I was listening and meditating, and I thought, I just need something lighthearted and funny today. And so I thought, why not dress up as a genie? Here I am, trying to do the impossible. Work some kind of miracle for my brother and give him a place to live and love him like nobody else ever has. So why not just wear the costume? Somebody bought it for me. They must have thought I had the capability. I even got a genie thing in there, a little genie pot with the lid off of it. Because it's time the genie got out of the bag around here. So I just went around in my genie costume yesterday. Paul was embarrassed. Jay was frustrated when he saw me at the school. That is not appropriate. Now is not the time. Of course, he'd had a really bad day too, and I wasn't surprised. It was in the air. So I left. I said, well, I can leave really fast. I didn't think it was that big a deal. It's close enough to Halloween, It's not like it's Christmas and I'm wearing a genie costume. It's not totally out of, So I left, and the girls, they were all smiling when I came out of the office, and the boys were like, what the hell? Nobody else really paid much attention to me. But then I got in the car and I texted and I said, I'm going to see Esther. She's dying and she wants to live, and my brother doesn't. And I just need to see somebody who wants to live. And I just thought I would make her day and make her laugh and walk through the nursing home and ask the old people who are dying if they had any wishes. Come on, give me a break. This is what's been going on over here. And I gave him a text message list of, the cops being there and the taser being pulled out. Never thought I'd ever use the taser. Not on anybody in my family, at least. My God. So then he was like, okay, I understand why you have the genie costume on now. You know, why not? I live in a rabbit hole. I'm fighting all the Jabberwockies like Alice in Wonderland. So here I am, and this is my update for the day. I'm getting ready to go to work, and Brian's out there in the camper sleeping for the first time probably in 2 days. I know he didn't sleep last night till 5 this morning, and I don't think he slept all day yesterday, and he was up the night before, so you count the hours. So I'm going to go to work, come home, and he's agreed to go somewhere. My elder, Cater Brown, planned a ceremony that starts today at 5 o'clock, and it's a death lodge ceremony. It's part of the somatic therapeutic healing that he does, and I have reached out to him via voicemail, via post comment on the wall where that, ceremony is advertised. It costs $275. But I have that much cash. Pretty much that's it. But that's, what I'm going to do with it if Cater will call me today and let him come. Because I know what a death lodge is. And I was going to build a big fire and have him go around and collect a bunch of logs and throw them in the fire. And I still may do that. But they're going to build a much bigger fire over there with a bunch of men and community and hopefully some women that can support my brother. And he's going to do some death lodge work this weekend, Lord willing. And if not, he's going to the hospital, which is not where he belongs. But maybe it is. I don't know. Only God knows. There has to be a way to deal with this so that my brother can have a few years of understanding what it's like to have a life and to have a family and to have nieces and nephews and have a sister and a mother. Because I realized last night when I laid down that it's not going to be very long, and I'm not going to have my family except the one that I created. My mom's going to be gone, and my brother's going to be gone. My dad's already gone, and that's it. They're all going to be gone. So, if you love somebody in your life, even if you don't agree with how they've lived, and you don't agree with what they've done, make sure they know that you love them and you forgive them before they die. And that's really all I'm trying to do for Brian. Is show him that somebody loves him and he doesn't need to be forgiven. My brother didn't do anything wrong. He's a subject and product of this world the way it was in 1964. This is 2017. And I had to rescue my son who was starting to walk down the road Brian was on, from a friend of his house where he ran away to a few years ago. And I saw what the homes today look like. And I had to stand up to the meth head man who was terrorizing the women in that house and the little boy to get my son out. And I had to leave those children there. But I did turn them into DSS, and he had to leave for a while, but he ended up back there again. There were no doors where he had knocked the doors off the rooms. There was holes in the walls where he was terrorizing the children, and I got so angry when I walked in the house and saw. I wish I had been videoing then. because I did the same thing that I did yesterday to that man in his house. And he didn't touch me. He got in my face and he thought he was going to, and I just said, you go right ahead and you beat the shit out of me. Why? Because I've stood up to one who's far worse than you are, buddy. And you have no right to terrorize these children or me, and you will not. And I don't care if I'm in your house. You have no right. I said, go ahead and beat me and all the cops will be here and you'll be where you belong, in jail. These kids don't deserve to be beaten. Beat me. Go ahead, beat me. That's what I said to him. Straight up in his face, nose to nose. Beat me. And he didn't. And I walked out of his house with my son and called DSS on him. Because he was a meth head. And this is the homes our children are raised in today. Far worse than I ever knew. It's time to wake up. Peel off the scabs of the Laodicean eyes and pull out the earplugs of the Laodicean ears and listen and wake up. Take care of your families before it's too late and they are forever lost. The whole irony of the pine tree story with Brian. When my dad beat me, the one and only time that he beat me to a bloody pulp with his metal Harley Davidson belt buckle and leather belt when I was 16. He beat me until I was unconscious and I urinated all over myself. And when I woke up, I was running down the street. I wasn't in the street, I was next to it. Headed for a huge evergreen pine tree in the middle of winter in a pair of short shorts and a cut-off Journey t-shirt. And all I could think about was crawling under the pine tree to hide from him while he screamed, running after me, you have 2 fucking minutes. 2 fucking minutes to get your ass back to the house so I can finish what I started. And he turned around and went in the house, and I was going to hide under the pine tree. I didn't have to, because it was an intersection, a crossroads. And a car turned down the road where the pine tree was sitting at the corner. And I ran right out in front of it, and she nearly hit me. Her bumper was touching me because all I wanted to do was die. I threw myself in front of the car. And she picked me up and took me home, smelling like urine with blood running down my back, and proceeded to try to find out what the fuck happened to me. Yeah, Brian ended up under the pine tree. Well, I'm going to attempt to go to work today and pray that I can make some money, since I'm going to spend some money and get Brian some help. I'll keep y'all in the loop. Have a good day.